The East Lancashire Railway 2015 Santa specials were again tremendously popular, and thanks to the efforts of all the volunteers, hauled in excess of 36,000 people. Here we see the crab tailed by the Class 37 Overburrs. The second Santa train being hauled by 34092, the City of Wells. And was variously tailed by the Class 31 or the Class 50 throughout the season. No sooner had we completed our Santa specials than there was an unwelcome guess, that of Eva, the Christmas Storm 2015. Just look at the height of the water here at Ramsbottom and underneath the bridge just outside the station. Further up the line we can see the height of the river at Rawtenstall. The waterside hotel at Summerseat was seen to collapse into the river itself. And on the following day I was very fortunate as guard to be able to take these pictures of the River Roch flooding over at Heap Bridge and down past the Antler Mill. The floodwaters which had come across the railway are seen here at the level crossing and signal box in Ramsbottom, over a foot deep. Here we get some idea the day after once the waters are drained, and the volunteers once again turned out on what was actually quite a mild day to dig away at the silt and rubbish that was now blocking the line and stopping the gates here at Ramsbottom from opening. The silt had blocked in the holes here that are the opening mechanism for the level crossing itself, and in the guttering here where the signal rodding extends south to Ramsbottom. On the other side of the level crossing, the guttering here also needed to be cleaned out and a lot of the rubbish just dug out and removed. By Sunday the 27th, the Ramsbottom gates were operational, and whereas previously we had just operated a service between Bury and Haywood, we were now on our way to opening services up once again to Rawtenstall. The overland flooding had caused this damage to the footpath just outside the signal box where the water had flowed down the roadway. And further down we can see where a wooden bridge used to span this short stream at Ramsbottom, and indeed look at the hydraulic force which had lifted these rocks and tipped them onto their sides. Further down the line where there is an underpass which goes to Nuttall Park, this had got filled with what was rather stinky, filthy silt and was impassable. And at the side of Nuttall Park we can see where some of the stones had actually been hydraulically removed from the side of the river. On a somewhat sunny day, people were out strolling around and looking at the damage. Thankfully the wildlife survived. The bridges had been surveyed visually, and on this day, with the gates now being able to open, Bull W55001 was used to traverse the line to try and see how much damage had actually been done to the track. With the gates opening, our bubble heads northwards onto the north side of the road. This is in order to be able to test that the track circuits are working properly, so that when the passenger trains come up, everything is safe and sound. The unit has actually proved that all the circuits work up to this point at any rate. On his way up the line he would have gone past the chest wheel slump, which was just south of Somerset. This was a particularly big slump which had prevented the railway from being developed when it first opened, and we can see that once again the volunteers had turned out and they'd actually levelled the track here. The slump itself is visible above and below, specifically below where you can see the erosion here that has taken place on the bank of the river. Also at Somerset had been a potential for impact from the debris which had come out of the waterside hotel there. Here you can see where it's collapsed into the river, and indeed the aerial photograph showed that almost 75% of the volume of the hotel had in fact passed into the water, and quite an amount of it lay here as debris on this island, which is on the south side of the railway. Our linesman had walked quite a percentage of the line to see if there'd been any significant damage, much of it being flowing type damage from drainage. The bubble made its way up towards Rawtenstall to see how things were going, and indeed Lancashire County Council had been out to see that the footpath here at Horncliffe had actually disappeared. Serious erosion to the bank at Horncliffe had brought the river to within a stone's throw of the railway track itself. Looking down from the railway line, we can see that it looks particularly close. And taking a view from down on the footpath, you can see the amount of erosion that's occurred. Look at the fence which is just in the foreground to this photograph, which is supposed to be at the side of the footpath. As you look south down the river, the actual profile of the river itself has completely changed, and this will need to be resurveyed for the OS maps in the future. This bank itself has lost the best part of 4 to 5 metres being cut away, and where there was a weir at the bottom here, well, I'm afraid that no longer exists. These signalled departmentally level crossing and the barriers at Rawtenstall were okay, but just looking within the river channel itself here, we can see the amount of debris that had been moved, and once again the amount of erosion which has occurred on the riverbank, leaving trees within the course of the river itself. W55001 is seen southbound at Horncliffe, having completed its reconnaissance of the line. And indeed on the next day we were able to commence services once again northwards to Rawtenstall. And on that day it's headed by none other than Ian Riley's Black 5 45407 Lancashire Fusilier. I would just like to say a very, very big thank you to all the volunteers who turned out in some awful weather and helped to put our railway back in an operational state. Thank you very much indeed.